150 years old. I've been over to the archives that we have, and you see the history of how it's supported Hong Kong. So from a social point of view in Hong Kong, actually keeping HSBC relevant and helping people live their lives here through better financial products and services and experiences. For me, it's also a personal journey is what keeps me going on this. In terms of how we keep going on this, because you're right, there's a lot of friction in a company this big. It's 240,000 people, and there are a lot of people who can say no to stuff, right? So, but it's changing, and the velocity with which we're changing, even in the 8 months that I've been there, this organisation is beginning to move. And so we see stuff happening all the time. So if I think about the stories that I hear, so a year ago, 2 years ago, we used to do one single monolithic code release for internet banking, and the regression testing that we used to go through, that's why nothing moved. The legacy systems were terrible. We're at the point now where we're releasing 2 to 3 times a year. Our release schedule for next year is accelerating to once every 2 months. We're getting faster and faster and faster, so things are changing and things are being delivered. And even though I think that for a lot of people, the customer experience side of things, they haven't felt it yet. It's going to start to happen, and we're not. And I put my hands up. We're not going to get it right every single time, and that's also something that we're helping the organisation to understand. This is MVP is a new word for them. Getting something out there and learning from it, and getting the analytics from it, and changing it and optimizing it. This is really, really important if we're going to be able to move at speed. So I think that's what keeps this. That's what keeps all of us there. Is the size of this opportunity to change an industry, an important one in a market like Hong Kong, and to see the change that's happening on a daily and weekly basis. And it's not there yet, but I feel really confident that we're getting there.
I find it fascinating that very established companies are now taking people who've been working, in small, little, nimble organizations. Do you see this happening a lot? Your friends joining other organizations as,
I'm trying to get as many of them to join us.
I know. Yeah, I heard that. All right, another question? There was one over here, sorry. I'll come back to you, I can't spoil one corner.
So thanks for sharing, and I have 2 questions. The first one is, you spoke about collaborating with startups and also the importance of data. Do you think it would be a main factor for you whether HSBC is collaborating with certain companies, say for example Reland, and will you look into, what are the data that you have, and whether we can use those data into our system?
Kind of similar to the developer.com, whatever it was.
Yeah, so can we make data available to people? So I think we should be able to make services available to people and certain data available to people. Hong Kong, we've still got some way to go to be able to do that. That's what I'm saying. I think these are positive things that we should be getting the organisation to think about. Frankly, we've got a lot of stuff to think about. Is it on the top of our list of stuff to do? Not right now. But we can start having those conversations about how to make it available and how to set up those programs that allow developers to work more closely with us.
I want to ask you a question. Does it help to have a boss who works for Google? Because Google's a brand, right? I mean, if a guy from Google's sitting in front of a banker, he goes, "Boy, I'm Google." It's like, we make more money than you do, so shut up. Right? So there's an attitude thing, right? Because what I see is, if you see these companies, large legacy companies trying to change, they often bring people from equally well-known brands, Google, Alibaba, blah, blah. So does it help to have somebody in the room who's worked for Google? Because Google's, is a monolith. I don't know how many employees Google has, but
about 50,000.
So it has more than HSBC?
No, we have 240.
Okay. Just checking. Yeah, but half of those are like in the Middle East, sitting around waiting for somebody to come walk into the bank. But so I'm just curious, in that transformation, does it really help to hire people who have a brand behind them? Because, sometimes it's not necessarily the brand, it's the thinking.
Right,
so does that...
Absolutely. So I would hope we're not hiring people just because they've got brands behind them. It's a good hunting ground, but you've still got to be able to deliver. You've still got to find people who...
It must help in that negotiation in the room where you've got, you know, resistance. Google says this, so...
Well, Google doesn't say that. the head of our digital organisation says that. So it is about educating our senior banking stakeholders about whether about strategy, about how we think the bank should be changed. I'll give you an example. So we had a kind of town hall session back in the UK in the middle of the year, and someone asked the question, do senior management get it? And the answer that came back, which I think was absolutely right, was it doesn't matter, they get it enough. So they've given us $1.2 billion and set some targets, like they would to any organization, like they would to any of their business units. They said, you go away and deliver this. So they get it enough. The second part I would say is that the head of the retail bank globally has set up a digital leadership program. So he has gone out and hired some people to help him understand what all of this stuff means. Does he have to be an expert on blockchain? No. Can he have a conversation about one now? Yes. And so there is a design and an impetus to change right at the top of house, and that filters down and that makes a difference. So if you see the CEO of the retail bank, who can now walk into a room and hold his own in a conversation around this, and ask you the right questions, and stare in the whites of your eyes and say, okay, you better not be bullshitting. I think this means enough. We've got the right impetus within the organisation.
Okay, cool. Next question. I want to have a lady ask a question because I like balance, digital inclusion, and whatever it is. Come on. I'm looking at you, lady. Come on, you've come all the way from Singapore. You're not going to. Is there any other questions? There we go. Can you come forward because the lead's not that long.
Thanks, I'll do the diversity question. Thank you very much for talking today. I know it's really difficult, and these questions about HSBC must be really difficult. You've only been there 8 months. What do you do when you are in Hong Kong and you are up against HSBC Hong Kong tech mafia who have jobs for life and they really don't want to change, and there's a lot of them. So how do you handle that? And I know Napoleon alluded to it earlier, but I just thought I'd say it as it is.
I love women, they ask the best questions. They like, especially if you're in a relationship. So, you're not in a relationship anymore. You're a handsome fellow, so no, that's a very good question. Some of the tech mafia leave and do startups, don't they, Paul?
The answer to that question is about creating the right working environments within the organisation. And these things take time. So we created something earlier in the year. It's an internal construct. It's called, because we love our acronyms at HSBC, HDS, HSBC Digital Solutions. What that does is says that people from IT, from business, from risk, from finance, from marketing, all of those functions need to be co-located together. So this is actually part of what the move to WeWork is doing. It's co-locating those cross-functional teams to allow them to operate at scale and at pace. So, like most things, you don't tackle it head-on. You come at it from the side and change it culturally by creating different working environments that allow the old norms to be broken down, is how I would say that. So that's what so far.
You know what's interesting is you make a very good point there, which is I've been dealing a lot with companies recently about transforming their businesses. What you're talking about is the physicality. Just moving people out of, habit is often to do with your physicality, right? Move them out of an office, put them in somewhere where it's completely new to everybody, and they're flat and talking. That physical change is enough to get people to work together. Is what you're saying.
So if you've got people who are sitting right next to you, if you've got a question about can I do this from compliance, if you send the guys in compliance an email, it's easy for them, because they got hundreds of emails to get through, and it's easy for them to say no, because that's easy to do. If they're sitting right there and you can have a conversation about it, you get to resolution much faster. So creating those workspaces and those environments it makes a huge difference to how we do.
Isn't it ironic you have to remove digital technology in order for people to collaborate to make digital products?
We still need some of the cool stuff as well.
No, but you're saying send them emails, now you're saying just talk to each other. It's kind of ironic. I think it's ironic. Another question? Let's take two more, because you're doing a great job, mate. Appreciate it. Can you take your headset off? It's really rude. Okay. I didn't know. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, these make it a lot quieter. All right, so anyway, first off, I'm trying to work for HSBC. That's the key, and I'm also a customer, like you are. So 2 years ago, I'm going to apply for a credit card. They say we need your payroll slips. Well, they're part of my HSBC account. Well, can you download those out of your HSBC account and then fax them back over to us at HSBC credit cards?
This is a terrible interview, by the way.
Well, this is the pain.
You're fired.
The pain I felt. So I see you looking at integrated channel experiences, trying to make all of the channels work the same together. But if you've got legacy processes at the extreme back end, how do you see these things changing to enable the integrated APIs,
so simply by spending $1.2 billion to fix it.
I like that.
I thought that message was coming through.
Well,
we're trying to fix all of that stuff.
I like that message. Yeah, looking forward. So with the mobile that you're doing, will it enable us to do the credit cards and at the same time mortgages, everything else? How soon is that going to happen?
So we'll be rolling out a substantial amount of changes to what we call an origination journey. So applying for a credit card if you're new to the bank, or even if you exist within the bank already, by the end of 2017. So a lot of those journeys, a lot of the pain that people have to go through today to apply for products and services, if we do our job right, will be fixed and straight through. So could you apply for a credit card on a mobile at the touch of a button? I absolutely hope so. That's the aspiration of where we want it to go. It should be that easy to do. Some of those journeys are going to take a bit longer. As I said, mortgages are more complex. There's a lot of documentation. It takes a lot to get through those and rework them, but they're absolutely being looked at right now. So is there going to be some big bang where we're going to launch a new website and everything's going to be fixed and mobile's going to be fixed and it's all going to be right? No. But that's okay, because that's what launching and then learning and then launching and launching and launching. Because if you take the old model that they used to do, which was, let's wait until everything's perfect, things took years, right? Because everyone was like, oh, we've got to make this perfect and we've got to do this. So we've got to be able to release.
But don't you also have to educate, you said it's a community bank, don't you also have to educate the people? So, right. You've got to tell people, look, we're going to launch something, it's going to have some bugs. Right, we got HSBC Beta.
I hope it doesn't happen.
HS Beta Corporation.
So let me describe it another way. So we do have this concept of MVP, right? But MVP for a startup,
for people who don't know what that means.
So minimum viable product. What can you release out into the market that is substantial enough that customers are prepared to use it and bug-free enough that it's an okay product for people to use? If you're a startup and you're a major brand, MVP should mean slightly different things. And again, because of this community aspect,
startups get away with a lot though. They just launch it and then oh my god, there's something wrong with it.
But if we get complaints that go to the regulator because something didn't work properly, that's a big issue, right? So yes, we can launch MVP, but MVP for HSBC must be at a higher standard than MVP for a startup. Right? So that's okay. But we still need to be able to get that mentality in and run with that and make the existing business feel okay about that. It's okay that every bell and whistle.
So it's okay to fail.
I think it should be okay to fail. Okay, we can talk about tech company cliches or whether you should fail fast and that kind of stuff. Yes, we should, but is it okay?
So I've got a question that's coming from my watch.
Oh, good.
You know what? It actually tells the time. Craig, are you still there, Craig? He says that he's wearing an orange shirt and he's against an orange wall, so you won't see him. But he's a smart fellow. He's got a question, and my watch is going out. All right. So, do you want to ask it?
Shout.
Yeah, shout. Go on.
Yeah, so I was wondering what parallels
So the government in the UK has something called GDS, Government Digital Services. What does that actually do? Do you know anything about what he's talking about?
I think I do on the GDS. I think the parallel.
So in the UK, there's a unit, Government Digital Services, where they merge lots of services together to try and improve it. You know. So he's just saying, it sounds very similar
Is that
to
what
a
it was?
government.
Merging services or making data available to people?
Can you come over here?
Can you shout?
No, he's coming over here. Let's go on.
Hi, yeah. So, what sounds very similar is they put it in completely separate offices with lots of totally brand new people outside of the government. And sort of their goal was to basically make all the services and data available to be a much more friendly system for all the government services, from passports, driving licenses, etc.
But a lot of that is about public sharing of data.
Yeah, actually they
But I think
outsource almost
so
everything that they do.
So actually, like government UX guidelines and style sheet specifications are actually all available publicly in the UK. So,
Correct.
So they've done a huge amount of work to drive accessibility. So I think that's what you were talking about. Right?
Sure.
So is that similar? I think to a certain extent, yes. That's what we're doing. Is trying to. We need the right balance between people who come from outside of banking and can think differently about what good looks like, what retail looks like, and the mix of people inside banking who can keep us honest and make sure we don't break too much.
Okay.
Okay, last question. Better be a good one, otherwise you're out.
Hello. I'll introduce myself first. Although I'm Bob Bunger. I'm co-founder of Bldg. Okay, so it's a ticketing platform, consumer app. And I've also recently been hired as a contractor on the HSBC Retail Transformation Program. So I know your colleague as of Monday. Okay, so I'm actually working with you. So I want to talk to you. So I'm just started on the Retail Transformation Program, and so I'm excited about that as one of the things I'm doing. But I'm interested to know, as the leader globally from digital banking, who would you say is the one that stands out at the moment that HSBC would be aspiring to be better than?
This is a good question. Are you saying HSBC or Andrew? I don't know who you represent.
I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't really thought about it that much. I don't really look too much about what other banks are doing. I look at what other industries and what other consumer tech companies are doing. So if I look at what's coming down the pipeline in terms of secure access from Yahoo and Google, they've got some really interesting stuff happening. If I look at what's happening in, say, chatbot technology and what Facebook's doing, how do we apply that? And some banks are already doing that kind of stuff already. So there are some kind of marquee brands that are out there that are held up as being kind of very digitally advanced. So you've got BBVA, Santander do some good stuff. CBA out of Australia are probably a lot further down their journey than we are. They've gone through a lot of what we've done, and actually we've gone and spoken to them. My guys before I got there, they had quite a lot of conversations with how they structure themselves. So there are some really good players out there, but I think from my point of view, it'd be a mistake just to focus on what's happening in banking. That's probably the problem, is everyone's been focusing on banking. If I was going to look at what I think a future model for financial engagement looks like at a consumer level, I'm looking into China. They are easily the most advanced e-commerce mobile economy in the world, and financial is fearsome. They raised $4.5 billion. They're probably going to IPO sometime in the next 12 to 18 months. They've done, if you look at their strategy, they've done a deal with Ingenico, which is a POS system around Europe for QR codes. Guys in the payments industry and the card schemes, this is a serious assault on consumer-based retail, financial products and services. And so, do I think about what the guys next door are doing or within Hong Kong and banking? Not so much. I think the future is very different to that.
Isn't it ironic that a communist country is leading the capitalist way of thinking? When I went to China to get a phone call to my mother, it took 5 hours.
Pay for your electricity.
That's very revealing. Anyway, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you very much. I love your honesty. So, Andrew's going to disappear because I know you're all going to assault him. How long are you going to hang around for? He'll be here. All right. As you can see, he's a very approachable fellow, but I've got to warn you, he is a desert marathon runner, so just don't ask him anything that's going to make him angry, okay? He's a bit like that guy, the Hulk. In fact, you look a bit like that actor too. So just be nice to him. Thank you very much.